everyone. They've announced that the technical regulations are changing for next season. Now there's a risk a lot of our hard work could be undone if we're not careful, so let's figure out how to mitigate this. Drivers, take a look at the developments we have and let us know what you want to invest in protecting. Alright everyone, let's get on top of this.
So there we have it then, a regulation change finally in this career mode, and the R&D, or some of it, will be reset for next season into Season 4. What's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2019 career mode, episode number 56 today for the Belgian Grand Prix in Season 3. If you guys did miss the previous one, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But yep, heading to this episode then, we've finally been notified of an R&D reset on the chassis side and the reliability side of things. So the aero will stay put and the engine will stay put, which is going to kind of benefit Toro Rosso quite a fair bit as a team, because obviously we're very good on the engine side, very fuel efficient, very quick in a straight line, especially with the drag reduction we've got on the car, you know, especially with DRS as well. The car is very, very quick. So really it's a benefit to us in a way that these things are staying, and the chassis side will be interesting. The chassis we're already quite poor on. You can see we've maxed out the chassis and Toro Rosso are just under halfway down the table. So actually this being reset might be a good thing for the team. We'll have to see about that. I don't know how things are going to shake out for every other team. You can see that McLaren and Renault have everything to lose potentially, and other teams like Ferrari and Mercedes might have things to gain if they can try and, you know, adapt every part. I just don't know how it's going to go really. But you can see now at this stage, about 2/3 of the way nearly through the season, maybe now teams will start to plateau properly as they save up money and resource points for the reset into Season 4. That's going to be very intriguing to see how that kind of plays out for the rest of this season in terms of what that means for this championship and what it's going to mean going into Season 4. Hopefully it's going to make things nice and close. I mean, to be fair, it already is quite close, but obviously even closer would be even better. But let's get into qualifying then. Thankfully, I don't believe there's any rain forecast for this entire weekend, so it should be a bit of a straightforward Grand Prix for us, like we kind of had last time out. So hopefully that's not going to be an issue, and Spa has generally been a good circuit for us. Of course, last time, if you did watch that one, we lost out to Leclerc big time in terms of losing some more points to him, and so this race, I said at the end of the last one, we have to try and break the momentum that our teammate has, and we have to try and score points ahead of Leclerc this race. So let's go to Saturday, first half of the race weekend. Let's try and do the first part of the job.
It's qualifying time at Spa, one of the mightiest tracks on the Formula One calendar. Long straights, up and downhill, Eau Rouge as well. This track isn't for the faint-hearted. When it comes to getting lap time out of this circuit, it's traditionally been about maximising top speed. Do you simply remove as much downforce as possible, hang on in the corners and max out down the straights?
The teams will have arrived with all manner of parts designed to capitalise on the long straights. The cars will be that much harder to drive in the corners, but everyone will be in the same boat.
So Spa being quite a long lap, then we're just going to cut on all the way to the end of our first flying lap in Q1 and crossing the line and up into P1 by a fair amount of time actually. And qualifying was very, very odd. You know, the times didn't make any sense to me. Everyone was kind of up and down. I mean, Dan Ricciardo there in the Ferrari came second in Q1, so I don't know what that was on about, because Ferrari haven't really improved that much. They did bring upgrades on the R&D chart you might have seen earlier, but they're still like the 4th worst team on the grid, yet they seem to be performing really well, because we go into Q2 and we're just about wrestling the car through in the bus stop chicane. Perez at the moment on P1, but we're going to come across the line again to go fastest there, so showing some good form. But again, I was massively quicker than everyone in Q2 again. Leclerc is able to get up to P2 now, but again, Ferrari make it up into the top 10 shootout. They beat out Mercedes, and you know, they really haven't looked that comfy of getting into the top 10 shootout up until now. So I don't know, maybe specifically the upgrades they brought, although maybe not massive on the R&D chart, are really working well here at Spa. Perhaps drag reduction updates, I'm not too sure. But into Q3 then, I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, because I'd been dominating Q1 and Q2 by so much, but then we go across the line here for our first flyer in Q3, and I'm down on the McLaren, so very odd. I don't know if it was track evolution or the AI bugged out and just weren't going very quick in Q1 and Q2. We'll never know really, but now they've sped up in Q3 and are giving me a fight here. But I mean, Leclerc's not on it at the moment. I think he's down in P7 as it stands as we go to the end of the session here. I believe everyone set their flyer because the checkered flag's fallen. I was the last man on track here to go across the line, so Leclerc is nowhere in the top 5. George Russell is in the top 5 in the Ferrari car, doing absolute madness there. Perez in P3, Norris in P1. I believe it's one of the Renaults in P2 then. So can we do anything to break up into the kind of top 3 there and maybe even get on the front row. Let's see as we skid through and lock up into the bus stop. But that actually carries more momentum than I did on the previous lap. And across the line, it is going to be P2. It is the front row alongside Lando Norris. So it's all British 1-2 there. Lucas Weber in third place. But look how far off. Not even Leclerc, everyone is. What on earth was this entire qualifying? I'll never know. I guess we'll never know as a unit there. Ricciardo down to P10 after such a good performance in Q2. But yeah, just very surprising Ferrari being up there and just these very weird lap times. But at least I matched, or somewhat matched, Lando Norris then. So we can maybe try and fight him into turn one in the opening laps. But it bodes well for us at least that Leclerc is behind us then. No matter how it happened, he is behind us. That's exactly what we needed. So let's try and carry that forward through into the race and try and get some points over him for the championship.
Who doesn't love the Belgian Grand Prix? It's the race, of course, that gave maiden pole positions to the Jordan and Force India teams, with Rubens Barrichello and Giancarlo Fisichella respectively. Jordan, of course, would then go on to better that here in 1998 with their first ever victory. And you can guarantee that something special will always happen at Spa-Francorchamps. But what that something is today is anybody's guess. So here we are once again, ready to go racing through the Ardennes forest. 4.35 miles of long straights, fast corners and massive elevation changes. It makes this not only one of the most exciting circuits on the calendar, but one that makes for some consistently high quality racing as well. Simply put it, there really is no place quite like Spa. And I'm joined once again by Anthony Davidson to bring you the lowdown for today's race. They haven't had a single retirement in the last 10 races. What do you make of the car's reliability?
I think they can be fairly pleased with that record so far. The first thing any good car needs is a solid, reliable base with which to build on, and they seem to have that this season.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday and will start from pole position, and the engineer completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Weber, Perez, George Russell and Verstappen, Leclerc, Gasly, Butler and Daniel Ricciardo, Hamilton, Vettel, Kevin Magnussen and Giovinazzi, Stroll, Grosjean, Daniel Kvyat and Nico Hülkenberg. Bottas, they've taken a grid penalty, and Kimi Räikkönen finishes off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Right, so here we are then on the front row alongside Lando Norris. Then the strategy will be pretty simple. The one stop once again with the tyre wear levels here in Season 3. The soft tyre to the medium, but it will be about the opening few laps. What can we do on the race start? Obviously, we'll have a bit of a slow one, I'm guessing, and it'll be a bit of a comeback, but I'm sure we'll be very quick on the straights, I'm sure, with the strength of this car. But really, I'm going to be focusing on Leclerc and just trying to finish ahead of him. If we can go for the race win, that'll be amazing, but we'll see. The pace really wasn't there for us last race, but this is a very different track, so let's just get into this then. It's an all-British 1-2 right now on the front row. Will it be like that at the end of this race? We go to 5 red lights to the Belgian Grand Prix. We're underway, and it is a slow one for us. A great start for Lando Norris there. He shoots off pole position, and now Lucas Weber's down our inside into turn 1. The Renault up into P2. Verstappen is battling Perez there behind us for P4 and 5. We're going to tuck in behind the German and try and get in some slipstream there as we go towards Rouge, then up the hill, and we'll have a chance to re-overtake Weber and Norris here, because look at this. The slipstream already working an absolute charm. I'm going to try and get the toe off Norris and try and follow in the slipstream. I'm going to have to push Weber a little bit right there to really fully catch the slipstream off Norris. But here we go now, round the outside, into the next right-hander, down the Kemmel straight, up into P1 of the Belgian Grand Prix. Absolute textbook stuff there from P3 to P1. And so that's what I'm talking about. The car may be a little bit slow off the line. We may be slow off the line, but we know the car, once we get going there at full pelt, we've got the speed in a straight line. Although I will say, into the first few turns and this left-hander there with no name, the car was feeling quite understeer and very peculiar, I'll say. It almost felt like I maybe had to put one more click of downforce on the front wing on the setup. I definitely did go towards the lower end of downforce to make sure we had the straight line speed, but that might have compromised us a bit too much maybe on the heavier fuel loads, as the car was feeling a little bit weird. And so as we move on to lap number 3 then, DRS activated this lap. Norris well within 1 second of us, and Verstappen is the one setting the fast lap of the Grand Prix there. So at the moment I'm having to just kind of look behind me in the mirrors and try and defend as best I can, I think, down this Kemmel straight. Norris will have a good run. I'm not too sure about Verstappen, but here goes then Norris on the left-hand side. We go defensive to the inside there. He's got DRS open. He goes the long way around. We squeeze him through on the next left-hander and just about keep it in the white lines and maintain that P1. But Norris is, look at that, right up our chuff. So we go very hard on the brakes to try and cover him off. But look at that. Verstappen, out of nowhere, comes just charging through the outside there. We've now been sent off balance. There's a bit of a tap on the rear end. And Weber comes and taps our rear end as well. Gets the elbows out. And he gets up into P2 there. The two Renaults are now 1-2 here. As we go into Pouhon, we just can't pull it through on the outside of Weber. I don't know what on earth has just happened, because Lando Norris now has come through. And again, we're being tapped round on the side here. These guys are really getting their arms out and just using their front tyres to kind of nudge our side pod to kind of get some space there. So in a split second, I don't know how that's actually worked out there, but we went from P1 to P3 as I tried to defend my position against Norris. I guess I maybe just tried to defend too hard against Norris, and Verstappen just sent it fully on the outside there. But we'll try and get back. We're going to get back down the inside of Weber into P2 on lap number 4. But still very flummoxed at how that even occurred. In the middle of that, the car felt horrendous. I don't know what it was. The dirty air off Verstappen, Weber tapping us on the rear end. But the car felt really quite poor. So as we go through these next few corners, I actually decide to adjust my front wing. So on the pit stop, I'm going to tell my team to bump up the front wing by 1 click on the pit stop. Of course, under Parc Fermé, you can't change the rear wing, you can change the front. So we're going to click up the front by 1 just to give us some extra downforce. Although saying that, as we move on to lap number 5 in some cleaner air, not being pressurised by anyone from behind us, we start to catch up to Verstappen again. I was kind of afraid that Verstappen was going to bolt off into the distance and we'd never see him again, but we're actually catching him back up again, and the car now once more is feeling a little bit more balanced in the corners, and I'm feeling the grip there. So I actually go on to readjust the front wing and say, no, you know what, scrap that, we'll keep the front wing as it is. I guess maybe it was just the dirty air, the huge amount of it coming off Verstappen. Obviously we saw at Hungary, I talked about in qualifying at the Hungarian GP episode, the dirty air we got in qualifying. I guess, you know, in Season 3 cars, especially when you've got the drag reduction updates all on the cars, it just makes so much more of a difference when you get in the kind of dirty air of a car like that, especially mid-corner when you've got a high-speed corner like that here at Spa. So we're right up the back then of Verstappen. We might have opportunity to overtake him as we move on to lap number 6 then, as we set the fast lap of the Grand Prix. And you can see on the mini-map there, gap forming to Lando Norris, who's been busy fighting off Lucas Weber. I believe Leclerc is behind those two in P5 then. So Leclerc's had a bit of a slow start, but he's getting back up there. And I would say by the end of the race, I wouldn't be surprised if Leclerc is, you know, right there, you know, basically in the kind of top 3, as obviously the car is just so good. As we go up Rouge and up the hill, bit of a wobble there as the car got unsettled mid-corner, so I had to go and extend the track a little bit there, but no harm done. And now we pull through with DRS on the left-hand side, and we go the long way around, try and pinch Verstappen off into the apex, but Verstappen is there still. He's got the nose in. We have to give him some space there, and so we're just about making it through. Verstappen actually gets very close to squeezing us off on the left-hand side there, and we go defensive to the right. Again, you can see Verstappen is so amazing on the brakes around the outside there. Really quite good, but we're able to survive that for another day and keep P1 for now as we now move on to lap number 7. But we're looking once again in the mirrors behind us because Verstappen's got a good run here, and we're going to have to go defensive at the end of the Kemmel straight. We're going to go to non-ERS though, actually, because then I think about it, as we go up the hill, hang on, let's just cool this down. He can overtake us here because I can just try and overtake him at the end of the lap, because I know the slipstream is so powerful. That's the thing. Spa, you guys know, if you've been watching F1 videos long enough, you guys know the Belgian Grand Prix, the slipstream is so overpowered for the last 3 games. It's just so powerful, so you can afford to let a car through like that, save ERS, and try and re-overtake them on the next lap. So that's exactly what I do on lap number 8 on the Kemmel straight. We get him back again, a little bit wobbly there again as Verstappen tries to squeeze us and kind of scare us off the road a little bit, but we're back up into P1 and Verstappen is down to P2 and all order is resumed. And as we go to the end of that lap, we're going to come in for a pit stop a little bit earlier than maybe Verstappen and the likes of Norris and etc. are going to come in for, but I think we can try and get a good undercut on the medium tyres here. So in terms of the running order, I think it was myself, Verstappen, Norris, it looks like Perez, and then Leclerc, who actually got ahead of Weber then. So Leclerc is in P5, chasing after then the 2 McLarens and Verstappen then. So like I said, I would expect him to eventually make his way up and maybe try to hopefully challenge the McLarens for the sake of the team, at least. I say hopefully because of the team. Obviously, I'd rather him kind of stay put in, you know, P4, 5 for my sake in the championship, but for the team, obviously, it'd be good if he can try and get up there, and I expect him to, because the car is still working an absolute treat despite being maybe below McLaren on the R&D chart. You can see the car is still so rapid in a straight line. We gain so much time every single straight. And so it's a good pit stop, actually. We just got ahead of Kevin Magnussen there, so we've got this nice bit of clean air. So we're that close to getting some dirty air and getting in some traffic with Magnussen, but now we've got all clean air ahead of us. We won't catch Butler, I don't think, by the time we get to the end of the lap, and everyone else is making their pit stops here. So pretty much a perfectly timed pit stop, actually. It's rare to get those, to be honest. In the last few episodes, we've had a lot of traffic to deal with here and there, especially at Hungary it was. But here we come now through Butler. We just catch him as he comes in, so literally perfect timing there for us then. So we come through now up the order to up to P7. Verstappen is there on the top left there. He's going to go down the order, and he's actually massively down the order because Leclerc is also there bubbling around. So what is that about? Verstappen's lost majorly there. That's a good like 3-4 seconds Verstappen's lost there. So I think the undercut has worked an absolute treat. Verstappen must have been fighting maybe Norris or I don't know really, but he's massively behind us. So we move on to lap number 11. I was relaxing a little bit on the ERS with high. We go back to hot lap mode because then I realised Norris hasn't come in yet. So we move through into halfway through the Grand Prix, lap 11, and Norris is there. So Norris is within about a second and a half of us there. But Verstappen's lost that majorly. Look at that. It's now myself, Norris, Leclerc, Weber, and Verstappen. Verstappen's all the way down in P5, I believe. It looked like there on the top left. So I don't know what's gone on, but yeah, the Dutchman's lost that massively in the pit stop window. So now it's myself v Norris then, and it's up to Norris to keep me honest, and we have to try and go through and control this race now to the end of the Grand Prix. Hopefully Leclerc, for his sake, can maintain that P3, and for the team, that double podium would be kind of good, and for us it'd be ideal still if we can finish first and Leclerc's down in third place. That's a decent amount of points we're going to gain on him. But as we move through now to lap number 18, we've got 4 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Norris has kept me honest a decent amount there. I've been trying my best to try and break the kind of gap and try and pull out at least 3-4 seconds. Not happening. He's just stayed in the DRS and been so consistent there. So he's still P2 within 1 second. Lucas Weber in P3 at the moment with the fast lap of the Grand Prix. Him and Leclerc, as you can see right there on the top left, have been swapping left and right and centre. Their name tags, literally every lap of swapping. So unfortunately, I don't have any replay cameras for you for that battle because I was actually scared of my game crashing as I recorded them, so I didn't take the risk there. But take my word for it, their names have been swapping pretty much every lap nearly. As now we go into lap 20, and you can see there Norris got oh so close. I nearly got scared off. And we had to go a little bit defensive there as he's right up our chuff as we move through to the end of lap 20. He is literally right there pushing us through as we go through Blanchimont and through to the bus stop chicane, and we go to the middle of the circuit there to the inside now. Look, and he's round the outside. Norris is to the inside. We tried the switchback, but Norris blocks the switchback. I tried to, you can see there, cut in tighter and switch it to the left hand side of the track, but Norris kind of parked it and went so slow and he blocked me off there. So instead my front left tyre just banged his rear right tyre, and so we have to stay behind in P2. But no matter, don't worry, even though the gap looks pretty good, he's got a good acceleration there off turn 1. We have the speed, remember, so let's just be patient here. We've got enough ERS to play around with. We've just got enough fuel, just about. I've been noticing actually the fuel is a little bit on the edge here compared to other circuits here, because I guess you're on throttle for so long here. But here we go now, powering past Lando Norris. DRS open there, high on ERS, down to none to save the ERS crucially for the end of this lap. And on to lap 22, I want as much ERS as I can get to make sure we stay ahead of Lando Norris here as we move on through then to the last lap of the Grand Prix. It was a mega battle between us two at the British GP, and it seems like it's again at the Belgian Grand Prix, but this time it's really a cat and mouse game of the DRS and kind of can you have the straight line speed. Here comes Lando Norris now on the outside, just doesn't have enough oomph there, and we do enough to brake as late as we can with a lock up on the front right as well for good measure to maintain that P1. And so as we swing through now to the last few corners of this GP, we're going to come through for P1. Hopefully it'll be a last chance for Norris into the bus stop chicane. He doesn't do anything as we lock up a little bit, but no fret, we are going to come through. The checker flag's going to fall, and we're going to get first place at the Belgian Grand Prix. It's a 2-3 for McLaren, and Leclerc is in P4, and so that will be the lead of the championship once again back in our court.
Here's our winner, pulling their Toro Rosso into Parc Ferme, and what a fantastic race. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, I know it's a bit of a boring answer, but the truth is they simply had the best speed package on the day, and a driver who knows how to take advantage of that. It doesn't matter how much time you spend poring over the stats and planning strategies if you can't keep the pace, and our winner today showed they could do both.
And look at this, they're coming out now. Toro Rosso have developed something of a reputation for forging exciting talent, and we can see that here. An incredible victory.
So a bit of an odd Grand Prix, actually. At one stage, the Renaults were looking absolutely rapid there. Then kind of McLaren came into their own. We came into our own as well, and we're able to get that race win. It's been a decent while, actually, since we won a race, actually, in the Toro Rosso. It feels like short a amount of time, but if you actually look at it, it has been a decent while relative to how quick the car is that we've won a race, obviously. And that was very crucial that we broke the momentum that Leclerc had there on us. 2 races in a row where he scored over us. So we get one back here at Spa, going to Monza. It's usually quite a strong track for me here, especially in this year's game with the slipstream again being powerful at Monza. So looking forward to that one to gain some more points maybe in the championship there. But you know, you can see it's just ebbing and flowing up and down in terms of Leclerc's in first, I'm in first, he's in first, I'm in first. It probably, if it stays like this, it is going to go right down to the wire of the championship. It really will, because literally we're actually so close. Dare I say, that's actually the closest I've been matched to a teammate in a long while in a career mode. Not just on this game, in general, on F1 games in general. I think this is the closest fight I've had with a teammate in terms of, like, you know, we keep on matching each other race by race in terms of getting the points that we need for each other in terms of getting the championship lead. So it's been a real enjoyable one for sure. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it as well. And if you did enjoy this episode, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, do subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you just a day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.